I have a question for you. Were you more a Nickelodeon or a Disney kid? By that, I mean, did you watch the live-action Disney shows growing up, or were you more into the Nickelodeon ones? Personally, I watched way more Nickelodeon, like iCarly, Victorious, or some Drake and Josh. Though, I was also a Disney kid, watching a lot of Disney Channel movies and some Hannah Montana. I recently did a poll on my channel asking this very question, and most people said Nickelodeon, but also a lot in the comments said both, just like me. Now, why is this even important? Well, I want you to look back on watching any of these two networks, but really Nickelodeon, and see if you remember something odd. Something different than the average sitcom.
Well, while society slowly falls apart and the economy crashes, I spent my time hiding away and doing exactly that. What I found was a shared cinematic universe that connected every Nickelodeon show all together, and it's very weird.
A shared universe is basically like any Marvel movie, where two pieces of media, like two Marvel movies, or in this case iCarly and any Nickelodeon property, being connected by crossovers, references, hidden details, but still being their own shows, simply in the same world.
It lets you do some really cool things, and while yes, it's gotten out of hand recently, with a task to watching anything these days seeming more like homework than fun, maybe being the reason I exclusively watch children programming from the early 2000s, but there's still some merit to the idea. Now, the idea of a shared universe in children's media isn't really that crazy these days, with franchises and countless spin-offs, but back in the early 2000s, and even 2010s, the idea was really, well, only an idea. Crossovers existed, but they were always self-contained, and the shows would never make references or build on actual continuity between multiple shows.
This is very much not the case for the Nickelodeon cinematic universe. Now, this universe all started because of the show Drake and Josh. It's a show about two stepbrothers and their wacky antics, which each episode mainly focusing on how different they are and using it as a source of conflict. Now, I want to make it clear that this video is not a review or even a recap of any of these series, so sorry if you clicked this video for Drake and Josh episode recaps, but other than just giving basic descriptions of the shows or soon-to-be movies and how they connect, you may not know what I'm talking about. I don't either for like 50% of this video, so you're right at home. Now, the reason Drake and Josh is the beginning of this universe is because how many actors began in Drake and Josh and went on to get their own shows. Megan, who is Drake and Josh's sister, is played by the same person who then goes on to play Carly Shay in iCarly. There's also a character named Crazy Steve who worked in a movie theater and later goes on to play Spencer from iCarly. These two people are played by the same actor, have the same face, but are not the same character in the shows. Now, at first, this is a problem because what does it mean? If this universe is a, well, universe where shows connect from one another like Drake and Josh and iCarly, two characters should be played by the same actor, right? Well, that's a problem for future me, because thankfully, there are some connections that aren't just a contradictory mess made to confuse and annoy me. The first detail that connects to shows iCarly and Drake and Josh is a special on iCarly at a Comic-Con type event where Zoe 101 characters and Drake and Josh characters appear as well themselves, being fans of the web show iCarly. This will be important as we go on with iCarly, the web show connecting a lot of things, but currently we got Zoe 101 and Drake and Josh and iCarly in the same trio universe. Another connection that is connected to another show is Helen from Drake and Josh, who is the manager of a movie theater appearing in Victorious as the new principal in later seasons. They actually reference how she was a child actor playing in the TV show All That, which she did in fact do in the real world, which makes All That a show inside the Nickelodeon universe, putting it below things such as iCarly or Drake and Josh. Except in iCarly, we see in the background Carly watching Drake and Josh with Megan on screen, who is played by Carly's actor, also on screen. This would make Drake and Josh a TV show inside her world, along with Victorious, because in that show, they straight up call Drake and Josh a TV show they watched as a kid. But the weird thing about that is Helen from Drake and Josh is their actual principal in Victorious and in that episode. And in her introduction, she mentions previously being the manager of the movie theater and being named Helen. So what does that mean? But other than these connections and a few others in later shows, this is the end of how Drake and Josh directly connects. Though because it started in this show, I felt like I had to mention the existence of pair products. Pair products are basically a direct parody of Apple being used from Drake and Josh to modern day shows such as Game Shakers or Henry Danger. These pair plots kinda alone connect every single thing they appear in, including Drake and Josh, iCarly, Victorious, Zoe 101, and more shows we'll get into. Now, iCarly is where most of the connections for this universe begin, not only with Carly herself and Megan being played by the same actor, along with Spencer, but at actual crossovers and references that make sense and aren't just inconsistencies. Thank God. Like I said before, iCarly as a web show is seen in Zoe 101, Victorious, Henry Danger, Sam and Cat, and a few other random shows that have other connections we'll get into later. Now, where things get really interesting is in an episode of iCarly where they cross over with Victorious called iParty with Victorious. It's one of the biggest crossovers ever where the Victorious characters and iCarly characters meet, with the central plot of Carly and Tori both having the same boyfriend who is cheating on them. The weird thing to note here is that Carly, Sam, and Freddie all remember a character named Shelby and acknowledge how Tori looks just like her. This is because Tori and the one-time appearance of the pro wrestler Shelby in an episode of iCarly are played by the same actor. And usually you could just say, oh well, they didn't plan for Victorious to even exist when that appearance was done. Same with Megan and Carly or Crazy Steve and Spencer. But while true, that doesn't make sense when they actually acknowledge that in their world, it is odd. Now yes, you could canonically explain it away with everyone has a twin or a lookalike, even happens in iCarly. But as we go on, there are only so many secret doppelgangers these actors can have that gets to the point someone needs to tell me what is going on because I do not know at all. But I assume I'll figure out eventually, so don't worry. Now, another connection that I actually really like and have a personal theory about is Gibby's head. You heard me right. Gibby's head. In a later season of iCarly, Gibby 3D prints his head and in a later season sells it for millions of dollars. Or it may be thousands, I actually can't remember. Now we see his head later in the background of plenty of different shows like Victorious or even Henry Danger. I believe the reason it was in Victorious is because Gibby left it there by accident in the crossover episode, and later in the show went back and got it. Then in Henry Danger, it is in the background of the mysterious shop the man uses as a cover for his secret base, so I assume he actually just bought the $1 million head just because he thought it looked cool or something, and is very wealthy. Also, remember, it could have sold for thousands. I truly just don't remember. I also kind of realized something when remembering that Fred from YouTube appears in an episode of iCarly, which means YouTube exists in this universe and any connection to it, which means I am technically canon to iCarly. Also, if you want to do more meta questioning, Shane Taut from Smosh was an actor on an episode of iCarly, and if Fred exists in this world, Smosh definitely does, which means that this preppy, annoying kid goes on to be a comedian on the YouTube channel Smosh, I think. Now, Victorious on its own also has some crossovers and references and sadly more confusing moments. The show is basically a sister show to iCarly about a school of the arts and its weird characters, with Tori being the main character. The show is kind of similar to iCarly, with Tori's actor playing characters in both iCarly before her show and also being a side character in Zoe 101. Trina, her sister, also plays a random character in the sequel to iPsycho with Nora, a crazy fan of iCarly who has a big party and locks up the iCarly gang in her basement because she's obsessed with them. And well, the no-name character, who also plays Trina, appears. That is it. Now, other than those, sadly, there aren't any more real crossovers except one we're about to get into. Though there is a potential cameo with Josh Peck, who plays, well, Josh from Drake and Josh, appearing in Victorious in the background, simply congratulating Jade on her play, then leaving. Most people just assume this is Josh, and I do as well, because there's no reason not to, and with the amount of confusing reuse actors, any potential cameo that makes sense, I'll take. Now, before I move to another detail, I want to make a point that when watching Victorious, I noticed something really weird. It's very meta. What I mean is the show continuously acknowledging the existence and strangeness of shruggers. Shruggers are basically the zero-line background characters, usually being students. This, along with iCarly acknowledging Shelby and Tori looking the same, makes me think there is an actual actual theme of these characters noticing the weird inconsistencies or TV show tropes inside their own world. Weird. Sam and Cat. This is an interesting show to say the least. It's a direct spin-off of both iCarly and Victorious, making it obviously a part of the universe, but also having the most evidence and interesting details for this universe. The first mind-blowing reveal is the comeback of Crazy Steve, who is seen in a psych ward in Sam and Cat, along with Neville. This is pretty big because we haven't acknowledged or seen Crazy Steve since Drake and Josh, but now in the spin-off of iCarly, next to multiple iCarly characters, we see Crazy Steve. This also completely kills the stupid theory that Crazy Steve kidnapped Megan and forced her to pretend to be his sister, and that's who Carly and Spencer are. But other than that, it really just makes things more confusing. Now, other than other crossovers that really don't add anything, like Zoe 101 or another one with Freddy, the show doesn't really add anything new, except for one cameo from the show that appears in a new show you may not know about. Henry Danger is another Nickelodeon show, being the first one not made by Dan Snyder in this universe, so the experience of watching it now, not as a child, is better to say the least, or at least way less weird. It's a superhero show, and one of the villains of the main characters, Frankie, seems very similar to the never-seen brother of Kat from Victorious. See, Kat has this ongoing bit, or just element of her character, where she has a crazy brother that we never see, and while Frankie fits the description perfectly and is Ariana Grande's real brother in the real world, so that does help. The thing that really sells this is Goomer from Sam and Cat, someone who basically works for them in their babysitting business and appears straight up as Goomer in Henry Danger working for Frankie. But the thing that makes that really crazy, he says he used to work for Frankie's sister. Boom, that's just concrete evidence that they're the same person. Frankie and Cat have to be siblings, and these two shows have to be connected. Now, Danger Games is another actual official crossover between Game Shakers and Henry Danger, where, well, they meet. It's a very bad episode, but it does connect them, so that's pretty cool. Also, Henry Danger connects to the show called Hex Squad or Night Squad or something. It means nothing, but it does add it to the timeline, so that's cool, I guess. The final Nickelodeon show in this universe is the show Thundermans. The Thundermans is another superhero show similar to Henry Danger that also crosses over with Henry Danger and is an actually pretty fun episode. Way better than Danger Games. This is the official first connection between Thundermans and the Nickelodeon universe, putting the Thundermans in it and any connection to it. The Thundermans and a show called Haunted Hathaways also have a crossover. That's pretty much it though. Now you may be a little confused on how I just said this is the final show when the YouTube video you're watching is very much not over. Well, that's because I said it was the final Nickelodeon show left, not the final show. Because oh boy, does this universe get so much bigger. Now, where this universe truly gets crazy is in a show not even on the same network. It's a show on Disney Channel that is a spin-off of an ABC show called Girl Meets World that is attached to an entirely different Disney-connected universe, and this show significantly connects both Nickelodeon and it. It's all because of a drink brand seen in the background of an episode of Girl Meets World called Wahoo Punch. This is a fictional drink brand that only exists in Girl Meets World, but also appears in iCarly and Victorious. This means that the Nickelodeon universe and the Disney Channel universe are the same mega universe. The universe starts out with That's So Raven crossing over with Hannah Montana, and it also crossing over with Suit Life on Deck. This connects Life on Deck, which crosses over with Wizards of Waverly Place and Jessie. Now Jessie crosses over with Austin and Ally, Liv and Maddie, and Good Luck Charlie. To finish off this list, in the series Bunk, which is a spin-off of the show Jessie, characters from the show Raven's House cross over, which is another spin-off of That's So Raven, looping this Disney universe into a neat circle. Now where the universe truly expands and actually connects the Girl Meets World, which connects to the Nickelodeon universe, is a huge Halloween mega crossover where a bunch of different shows and characters all go to the same Halloween party and antics ensue. In this Halloween crossover, Jessie crossovers with I Didn't Do It, adding I Didn't Do It to this universe. Then I Didn't Do It crosses over with Austin and Ally, which crosses over with both KC Undercover and Girl Meets World, which then officially connects this entire universe to the Nickelodeon cinematic cinematic universe. Girl Meets World connects to Best Friends Whenever, which is a time travel show adding time travel to this universe. Best Friends Whenever then connects to Liv and Maddie, and that finishes off the Halloween episode connections. This is a very weird and large universe. Just to remind you what it looks like, right now this is a universe where the internet sensation iCarly exists, the Musical School of Hollywood Arts that the Victorious Gang goes to, the undercover spy organization from Casey Undercover, time travel and teleportation, literal ghosts, multiple shows about superheroes and superhero community, magic, more ghosts, and a 3D printed head of Gibby. This is a weird universe, but oh my god, is it about to get weirder. There's also another show that's actually pretty interesting for this universe called That's So Sunny, which for some reason exists in a weird way where it alone is not connected, but its meta spin-off show kinda is. Basically, there's a sequel show called That's So Random, which is a talk show skit SNL ripoff where the actors play their characters playing characters, where some Disney Channel actors will then guest star as their actors, making this entire universe a level below That's So Random and maybe That's So Sunny. Now where things get really crazy and wild and beyond Nickelodeon or Disney is on ABC's then Disney's Girl Meets World. See, Girl Meets World is a spin-off of a show called Boy Meets World, which aired on ABC's Thank God It's Friday. This opens up, well, a lot. We have somehow gone from iCarly and Drake and Josh to the 90s sitcom on ABC, Boy Meets World. But where this gets interesting is the few crossovers that Boy Meets World did, being Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Family Matters. Now we're gonna start off with Family Matters, but try to contain ourselves before we go full crazy. Family Matters is an ABC show with the main character, Steve Urkel, who in his show straight up says he'll send a letter to his friend Corey Matthew in Philadelphia, which is pretty straightforward, thankfully, and fully connects Family Matters and Boy Meets World. This is important because the many connections Family Matters, or more Steve Urkel, have to, well, anything. Steve Urkel appears in Full House, which connects to shows like Step by Step and, from my understanding, Hanging with Mr. Cooper and Perfect Strangers. All shows I have never watched and before a month ago, never heard of. Now that's basically the ABC TJF universe other than Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But once you involve Sabrina, things get weirder. In a very much canon Halloween episode of Boy Meets World, Sabrina the Teenage Witch crosses over, dating one of the characters just for an episode. She never comes back and it's not really important in the show and it's just another random crossover, most likely to promote Sabrina the Teenage Witch to people watching Boy Meets World who haven't checked it out. But for the lore and universe, it means Sabrina the Teenage Witch is canon to Boy Meets World, to the ABC universe, which is canon to the Disney universe, which is canon to the Nickelodeon universe, with iCarly and Fred from YouTube. This is crazy because Sabrina is attached to the Archie multiverse, like Archie from Riverdale. I actually made a video about Archie comics. It's pretty good, I think, a little different than this one in terms of style, but you should definitely check it out after this video, of course. Basically, this opens the door to, well, a bunch of things. A, Riverdale's canon to iCarly, so that's crazy, but the more crazy and important thing is the many crossovers that Archie Comics has done with other media. This is where the video gets crazy. I'm just gonna list the many connections that Archie Comics, Steve Urkel, and Jesse from Disney make that I have not yet listed. There is an Ultimate Animated Spider-Man crossover with the Jesse characters connecting Ultimate Spider-Man and, well, the entire Marvel cartoon animated shows to the entire universe of Nickelodeon and Disney and ABC, and oh my god, this means the Marvel multiverse with the MCU connects to all of this. This would make MJ from Spider-Man a variant of Casey Cooper from Disney Channel because they're both Zendaya. Steve Urkel and Sabrina the Teenage Witch both have crossovers with Scooby-Doo. This means Scooby-Doo is a part of the now weird multiverse. And you want to know what Scooby-Doo is a part of? The DC universe. This means that the DCU and the Marvel multiverse are both a part of this insane Nickelodeon omniverse, making it easily larger than both of them. Phineas and Ferb also cross over with the Ultimate Spider-Man universe, making Phineas and Ferb a part of the Nickelodeon universe, and to further this, Phineas and Ferb then later cross over Big City Green, which crosses over with DuckTales, which means Mickey Mouse is canon to Nickelodeon's iCarly. Just to add, Scooby-Doo crosses over The Simpsons, so we've also basically unlocked every medium of media and every movie and show and actor and just everything. The Simpsons already done Marvel and Gravity Falls, which connects to the Owl House and Amphibia, which means in the next Avengers movie, we could see Jessie from Disney Channel, iCarly from Nickelodeon, Fred from Scooby-Doo and YouTube, Luce from the Owl House, and Bill Cipher fighting Doctor Doom from Marvel. What is happening? Now, we talked a lot about Disney connections, so I felt the need to go back to where this video all started with Nickelodeon's Drake and Josh and its connection to Big Time Rush. This is important because Patchy the Pirate from SpongeBob crosses over as a cameo in Big Time Rush. You heard me right, Patchy the Pirate. Now, Patchy from SpongeBob making a weird cameo where he is just Patchy makes it so SpongeBob exists in the Nickelodeon Disney Marvel weird multiverse. But then, how is SpongeBob referenced as a TV show in multiple Nickelodeon shows? Well, if you watch SpongeBob or Alex Bale's Television Theory, you'll notice that SpongeBob is a TV show in universe. Patchy is literally the leader of the fan club, and according to basically canon, but also the Television Theory, is a nature documentary filming the lives of the people in Bikini Bottom. Now, the really weird tangent I found myself on when researching Sabrina comics was that she crossed over with Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, stay with me here. Sonic appears in Wreck-It Ralph, where he's a video game character. Now, in Wreck-It Ralph 2, the Disney princesses are also fictional beings in this weird sentient internet world. This places Wreck-It Ralph not only into this connected universe, but also above Disney, and in return, every single thing in this multiverse. But you want to know something crazier? Call of Duty characters appear in Wreck-It Ralph 2, and in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Apollo candy bars can be found in-game. And want to know what other piece of media has Apollo candy bars? The TV show Lost. Now, Lost is not a video game, but maybe the game just included Apollo bars like it would include a Hershey bar. In the real world, Apollo candy bars are a niche reference, but in theirs, it's just a candy. This would place the Lost TV show in the Wreck-It Ralph universe, which also places it in the same universe as That's So Random and a few other shows. Now, where this gets really crazy is the Lost cinematic universe. The TV show Once Upon a Time happens to exist in the same world as the TV show Lost. This is because the fictional airline companies from Lost, Oceania Airlines, also exist in Once Upon a Time. Also, both shows have the Apollo candy bars being the favorite candy of Henry Mills, which, you know, that just makes them connected along with the airline thing. This has gone too far. We were talking about Nickelodeon very soon ago. I don't know what we're talking about anymore. While it may be weird, it does place Lost and Once Upon a Time at the highest level or the closest to our own world in terms of this meta universe stacking multiverse. Now, another tangent you can go into, and I will, is Fortnite. In an episode of Invincible, we see Mark fly through a portal and come out holding a gun from Fortnite. It's a quick reference to him being in Fortnite, and in the scene, him being sent to other universes, but it would make it canon, which makes Fortnite canon to every other character who's ever appeared in it. Plus, Marvel crosses over with Invincible in the comics, helping solidify them as one multiverse, or at least one Nickelodeon omniverse inside Once Upon a Time and Call of Duty. So Fortnite, just like The Simpsons, kind of simply adds on to the madness, like Jinx and Vi from Arcane appearing in Fortnite, and also the Red Among Us character. That connects Henry Stickmin since he is connected to the game Among Us, which is, something I would care about in 2020. It also connects the entire Arcane universe, or multiverse, which is of course just League of Legends. So if you like League of Legends, you should just watch iCarly, because they're basically the same at this point. Now, the final element that simply makes this theory, universe, multiverse, whatever you want to call it, truly broken is Steve Urkel again. See, after this entire thing, you'll notice Steve Urkel or Family Matters connects to a lot, but one single connection simply connects everything ever made. Well, to be fair, The Simpsons kind of already does that because it's straight up crossed over with everything, but this Steve Urkel reveal ties it to every piece of media in a different way that's a little more shocking. The Tommy Westfall universe. A theory that puts together over 500 shows and movies into one single multiverse universe timeline existence that connects Steve Urkel to the show Mego, which connects to Gillian Island, which connects to 100 other things that goes back to the show St. Elsewhere. Why does that matter? Well, let me explain. See, the ending of that show is to reveal that the entire plot and every crossover was inside the mind of an autistic child, Tommy Westfall. That means every crossover that crosses over is inside the mind of this boy and his dreams. Which means the entire Nickelodeon, Disney, Marvel, ABC, Riverdale, Scooby-Doo, Call of Duty, Omniverse is connected to this boy and is all a dream inside his head. It explains why there are characters who appear multiple times, why they sometimes even acknowledge it, why certain shows are both real in one and fake in another, why there are plot holes, plots that feel like they're written by a child because they are, and it's all inside a child's head. All of these shows crossed over because he thought it was cool, because that's what children think is cool. In his world, some of these things may be real, and he transferred them into the dream, but others could be a figment of his own imagination. To be honest, we don't know, but what we do know is that what we see is inside his head, and that is the Nickelodeon Omniverse theory. Okay, but like, what is the point of any of this? That crossovers are stupid? That overanalyzing small Easter eggs and references really leads nowhere? Or, well, everywhere? To be honest, yeah, kinda. The entire point of the Tommy Westfall universe is to make fun of connected universes, and I feel like this weird Nickelodeon, Disney, Scooby-Doo universe is its own version of that, which then also connects to the Tommy Westfall universe, making it even more queer. But you know, to be honest, some of it's intentional. The Nickelodeon universe is intentional. Same with Disney, same with ABC. Just maybe Carly Shay from Nickelodeon and Sonic from Sonic crossing over is not an intentional decision that was planned to happen. But either way, who even really cares? So that's the end of this video. Subscribe and go away.